1, 2. Good evening. Welcome to the Sunday night edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. As many of you will know, I've hosted many a wake on a Sunday night after some pretty dire performances and results. But tonight, as you all know, we can celebrate because it finished Southampton 0, Tottenham Hotspur 5, and an absolutely stunning performance against, okay, we'll talk about not particularly great opposition, but hey, you can only beat what's in front of you. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce my panel tonight. First of all, bottom right of your screen, my old mucker of nearly 50 years, Jeremy Silverstone, who is still a year older than me, but maybe not for long. On bottom left, Tom, greenkeeper Tom Clark. Good evening to you, Tom.
Hello.
In the middle top, Levy out, Enoch out. Never mind. It doesn't look too good tonight, but there you go. Mark Cousins, one of our admin team. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening.
And top left, one you'll all know if you regularly watch this show, Adrian. Good evening to you, Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian, fully engine. Yeah, I'm well, thank you.
I know from the numbers we see, there's a few more of you in the chat, but I'll say hello as we go along. But it's 8:16 a.m. in Melbourne, and this show would be nothing, Peter, nothing without my time checks from Melbourne. And I know other shows think exactly the same thing. I wrote a couple of things down before we started. The squad looks down to its bare bones, which we'll maybe come back to. But Jem, let's kick off with you. That was the starting lineup, similar to what you expected?
Yeah, I think so. There aren't too many options at this point in time. So yeah, obviously they got the job done. Lots of talking points actually, and I think what we have to do is in some ways set aside the result tonight and maybe even the result against City, and maybe look less at the extremes than the kind of the core of what's happening at the club. Because I think the extremes will always happen from time to time. So there's some very interesting things coming out of the way the club is going at the moment. Comments that Ange has been making, the role of some of the other officers in the club, the fatigue, the depth of the squad, all sorts of stuff to discuss. So looking forward to an interesting evening.
I think I'm going to let you host, Jem. I'll just go to my bed. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, Jem makes some good points, Tom, and I think we will. There is a lot to discuss about what's going on, and certainly a few of us. I'm taking the rise out of Mark a little bit unfairly because there are a lot of us that are starting to wonder about the direction that Mr. Levy is taking the club in. But looking at that starting 11, similar to what you would have expected.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was good to see Spence finally get a Premier League start. and fair play to him. He's grabbed it with both hands and shown that he has got something to offer. If it's not necessarily starting every game, it's being able to start some games, rotate, and actually like how seamlessly he went from right back over to left back without any sort of issues is actually a real asset for him, because Udogie clearly needs rest, as did Porro, and it was only 20 minutes for Porro in the end, but it was just great to see him take it with both hands, but also offer something a bit different as well, much better at progressing with the ball at his feet in comparison to Porro, who's much more of a passer, and also he held his width as well. He didn't invert as much as what Porro did. He kept that width, and that I think made a big difference, especially for that first goal where he was able to drive through. So yeah, definitely. And to be honest, I think a bit unnoticed throughout the game was Bergvall. I thought
Bergvall, we will talk a lot. We're going to talk a lot about this because I think, there's Jem's right. With a lot of things going on, a lot of issues about the depth of the squad, but the kids did really good. And I think that in commentary they said at the end we had four teenagers on at the end, and that augurs well, even if funnily enough, you just done. Mark, I was going to bring you in, but I've got a few comments in the chat.
All right.
So
all right.
No, it's fine. Before I bring you in, let's just say hi to the people in the chat. Before I do that, just want to say a very special thanks to Tom. I did have Colin Sievers on tonight. Colin, was it Two Sides of the Same Pod? Is it his podcast? Colin's from Indiana in the United States, and does some really good shows on his own. That time I thought I got him on this one, but anyway, he got called into work. So Tom, I'm delighted he agreed to come on really late. Lisa, good evening. Lisa, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. Lovely to see you back. Good to see my Alfie get on the pitch. Yes, is he your brother-in-law or cousin, something like that? Let us know, Lisa. I remember you saying that on a show a few weeks ago, and I think that's meant to be. Jed was magnificent. I presume he didn't die. No one's told me about it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Ryan, we'll maybe if we get a minute, going to talk about your club and what's going on with players throwing punches at various people and your manager losing the job. I wonder if David Moyes might be a candidate for you. I know they're talking to somebody else, or Southampton, somebody just to straighten the ship somewhat. But we will. Great win for us. I had 2-1 Wolves in the predictions, Ryan, so you let me down again, mate. Sorry. In terms of the team, Mark, let's bring it back to you. Interesting comments from both Jem and from Tom. So your own thoughts?
Yeah, it was nice to see Jed finally get a game. I mean, we've been saying that Porro's been poor. All right, he had to come on when Udogie went off, but we've all been moaning about Porro, and Jed proved his worth in the first minute and a half. Yeah, when he burst forward
39 seconds.
Was it? Oh, all right.
I had 39 seconds written down anyway.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, he showed his worth within a minute then. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
Bursting through.
Tom's dad, Kevin's just saying I want a link to the show, so I'm trying to multitask and get him to find the show. Spurs Diehards.
But it was. We are very much down to the bare bones now, aren't we? I mean, whose fault that is, I'm sure we can discuss that. But
Adrian has down to bare bones, as we say, but. Never mind about Danny Rose Googling players we're going to sign. I was going to have to start Googling some of the subs bench if any of them got on. Adrian?
Yeah, well, we had 9 out today, didn't we? I mean, I just put this up. These are who were out. These were out plus Basuma. I took him off because of today's game. He wasn't playing. So we're still going to have all of them out, right? So, we're not out of the woods yet. But
Basuma was suspended as well.
Yeah, he made the 9th man. Yeah, good. Son got 2 assists and a goal. He's now our record assister in the whole of our history. He was sharing that top spot with sick note Darren Anderton, who only ever played 299 games for us. That's how much of a sick note he was. And Son's gone past him now, so he's a record assister. So, yeah. Team, yeah. The only change you might have seen with that is if Johnson started, that would have been the only change, really. I thought it was a bit psychological that after, and he was in the wrong end to hang Werner out to dry. I thought it was a bit psychological putting him on. I thought that was a bit of psychology, but that's just my thinking on that. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do that.
Most people would have picked that team. Yeah.
Yeah. Jem, dream start though. 39 seconds. You barely poured your first glass of Chablis and we're a goal up.
Yeah, and clearly some of the things that Ange has been saying during the week have had an impact. Clearly they had something to prove today, and it was an ideal opportunity for them to do that against a very poor team. But we've seen some other very poor teams who have perhaps not been blown away in the way that we would have liked them to have been, who have gained confidence and come back at us. So it was good to see. And I think any Spurs fan, even at 5-0 half time, was thinking, surely we can get at least a point tonight.
We did have this discussion, Jem and I, obviously, in our own personal chat. Yeah.
But, after 60 years as a season ticket holder, it's just part of your psyche. It's become part of the DNA. I think it was a good result. As I was saying just before we came on air, I think there's still some worrying little signs, and of course the big thing is this unpredictability, the inconsistency. And I've been thinking about what makes teams so inconsistent, and of course the injuries and fatigue will play a part in that, but maybe it's something deeper than that. Maybe it's that not all the players are buying into the project. And up until today, I felt that actually there were quite a few players that looked as if they really weren't buying into the project. And Son was definitely one of those last week. But I think you've also got to look at maybe the messaging and how clear the messaging is, how clear the plan is, and whether a part of inconsistency is actually a refusal to adapt. If you're going to play the same way against the top teams as you play against the bottom teams, I don't know. I'm not sure that's the best way to go about it. But I'd be interested to hear what other people say.
I happen to think, I've said it all along, we all know, we all watch football over the years. Most games are won and lost in midfield. If your midfielders don't perform, you're not going to feed your front three. You're not going to help out defensively either. And I've said it all along. And prior to today, I mean, fair play to Maddison. He played well today. I've been critical of him. And Basuma. And they haven't stepped up. That's why we've suffered, because when they've been putting games to me, they haven't stepped up. And that's the reason we've been inconsistent. If the midfield doesn't work to me, and that's it. I'll back to you, Ian.
Yeah.
Evening, Phil.
Let's go through the goals. Because I don't.
Evening, Phil. By the way, evening, Phil.
And then we'll talk about some of the longer term stuff, because there is no doubt in my mind as well that if you don't adapt, you will get beaten by the better teams. Will easily find ways of playing through you. I was at Ibrox on Wednesday night, and it was interesting how the formation did change. Although very few people played well on Thursday, it was a really average performance against a side that's not been at their best, but has just found a little bit of form and a little bit of belief, and they ran Celtic really close in the League Cup final today. But let's go back to Maddison's. Tom, wonderful start from Spence, cutting inside, delivering a glorious ball, and Maddison finished it beautifully.
Yeah, I actually missed the goal live because I was starting to cook my dinner, and I just suddenly heard them cheering after the whistle. I was like, "Oh, I ran back over." But yeah, fearless play by Spence. You know, he got that ball, and he was fearless, and he drove forward, and not only the determination and the skill and the pace to drive forward, but then the calm composedness to pick a really great pass out as well. And yeah, brilliant brilliant goal finish from Maddison, you know. And the thing is, as Adrian's saying, I feel Maddison's been a bit hot and cold this season, but yeah, despite being hot and cold, he's won 8 goals now, 7 goals, and he's got quite a few assists and stuff as well. So it does feel like if Maddison plays well, Spurs play well. So we just need him to do that more often, or at least surround him with the players to enable him to play well. But yeah, it was nice to see someone actually pick up the ball and drive at, like, what Spence did is what I wish I will see at some point Brennan Johnson do. Get that ball and use your pace and speed to drive at the defence and commit them, because ultimately, even if they tackle you, you know, there's that ball's going to ping around. You can pick up the second ball. That's what our game is high pressing, counter pressing, and it's, for me, it's frustrating not to see our wingers actually run at the players. Unfortunately, it's had to be our backup right back who's the one to do that. But hopefully, you know, we'll grow in confidence from this. Hopefully, Ange will grow confidence in Spence and start playing him more. But yeah, brilliant by Maddison. He was in the right areas, and I felt actually today Bergvall playing, and in that player who was confident, drop deep and collect the ball and spread the passing, like play with passing and with dribbling, enabled Maddison to actually start attacks higher up the pitch.
Yeah.
Rather than Maddison being the one dropping deep, it meant that Maddison could play in that middle third to final third and be on the finishing end of things rather than the one trying to start the attacks. He was the one who was starting to finish the attacks. And that's where Maddison does his damage. It's where he's done his damage his whole career. And actually Bergvall being that player who's happy to go and collect that ball, and not just the thing with Bergvall in comparison to Basuma, I feel, is Basuma's very good at, you know, dropping a shoulder and taking on a man, but he hasn't got a pass on him. Whereas Bergvall can seemingly do both. And he got caught out once or twice by trying to dribble when he probably shouldn't have and stuff. But he's 18 years old and he's going to learn from that. And I just think, yeah, I mean, I've delved away from the first goal, but the first goal revolving around Spence and Maddison, and Maddison being able to, you know, influence the game higher up the pitch was definitely a good thing.
You're being bigged up by your dad as well.
Yeah, I know. But Kevin said he would come on, but he was pissed, so he's not. So
unless he's talking about Son.
Serious that he said. Mark, though, a serious point here. When Maddison clicks, Tottenham click.
Was that me?
Yeah, sorry. Mark,
sorry. Yeah.
So,
without a shadow of a doubt. And it's like Tom said, when he's playing where he does all his damage, i.e. the number 10 role, not the 6 or the 8 where he keeps disappearing back to, he's fine. You know, and you notice today he wasn't being crowded out either. You know, because hardly any of them inverted, all that stupidness that normally goes on. You know, and that's when he's at his most lethal. He's just got to find consistency, to be honest, because he's not been consistent, has he? To be honest, he's been like, you know, some games he's been good, but a lot of it, I blame the system. I know I keep harping on about the system every show, but like, he gets crowded out. We're going to come back
to the system, because Silverstone wants to talk about the system. And I think it's something that's becoming increasingly obvious to all of us.
Yeah.
This pragmatism that's needed. But a special good evening to Nita. I know you've had some health issues at home to deal with. Yeah. So thanks for coming on, Nita, and I hope things are looking better as we head into the Christmas season. Adrian, let's bring you in. I want to talk a little bit about Jed Spence tonight. He's waited patiently for his chance, and as I say, in 39 seconds he was creating a goal.
Yeah, he's sort of joint man of the match with Maddison, isn't he? Because Maddison got 2. It's the first time I've really had. I think Spurs fans have had a real good chance to look at him. He's had that groin strain. We don't know if that's the reason why he hasn't been given game time before this, because there's no transparency at the club. None of the reporters asked, right, at the press conference, which they should have done. And he looks the deal. He looks the real deal. So that's good. Now with all these fixtures coming up, I'd like to see him start again Thursday. But will Porro come straight back in? I don't know. If I was Ange, I would dress Porro and play him again, just because he tracks back better than Porro. He gets back. Even when he had to defend, it was good. He can get caught upfield like Porro does at times, but I just thought like he had a very good game today.
I noticed he was tracking back. I noticed he was tracking back.
He's got the pace to track back as well, which Porro doesn't. Porro hasn't got like the pace. So yeah, he's got the pace to be able to track back, and he's got the strength once he gets there as well. But to be honest, Adrian, I think depending on Udogie, I reckon Spence will play left back. We don't know if Udogie picked up an injury today or he was taken off just to rest him, because he has played virtually every game. And he did have an injury pre-season. He didn't quite get over it. He didn't have a proper pre-season. Now he's played all these games. He might have even been carrying something when he started the game, like most players do for a whole season. They've got a knock here or a tweak there, haven't they, But I'm glad. I'm sure Ian will get onto Bergvall, but I'm glad Berg played so
I will. I absolutely will. But talking about Spence, Jem, I don't know if I've had this discussion with you. I'd like to see Spence play at that sort of right back position and Porro further forward in the role that either Johnson or Kulusevski's been playing. So if you've got a view on that.
Well, I think you have to ask whether Porro is a better potential finisher than Brennan Johnson. I think they both bring something slightly different to it, but you definitely have to make a choice between Porro and Johnson if you push him forward. I'm not sure that's as much of a problem. I know you've said before that you feel that it's an issue for us, but I'm more concerned about Udogie as a defender than I am about Porro as a defender.
Yeah, okay. Not sure I agree with that. The goals we concede, and again, it was the same at Ibrox, of balls coming on the right-hand side of our defence.
For me, it's just Udogie just seems a bit lackadaisical at times. I think he's strong and he's good in a tackle and he will close down men. He just has this like bit of a lackadaisical approach to things. Some challenges he goes full-blooded and full committed into, and then other ones he sort of like half-asses it a little bit. And I think
it seems to lose concentration.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas Porro, I sometimes get the feeling with Porro that he plays an arrogant style of football. Porro, like he backs himself, and I appreciate that, but it's when he's doing it in places where you're just like, look, just you've got the ability to hit a good curling ball up the line for Solanke to try and chase down. Like try and do that rather than trying to cut back and pass back to Foster. Actually, sometimes that ball, that outlet, is what needs to be done. I mean, he did that today, and then against Rangers, he did some stupid ass volley back to Foster in like the 80-something minute.
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like
nearly cost us the game, Tom.
Both our fullbacks just at this present moment in time just seem to have these like lackadaisical moments. But I think Udogie, I think tiredness is definitely like he's played every single game and without any rotation, and he's only young. He's only got 21, so you got to give him that as well. But yeah, it's the lackadaisical stuff for me that just thing. But we're saying like they're bad defensively. We've got the third best defense in the league at the moment.
Never.
We were the highest goal scorers until Chelsea got their second today, I think. I mean, we've scored the most goals as well. So, with Udogie,
goal difference. Like, honestly, it's comical. If you look at the league and look at the goal difference, all the teams around us have got like a +1, a -1, a +2, and then we've got a +17.
Yeah.
I think like that probably goes to show more than anything that when when we play well and when the players are on it, we absolutely, like I was saying last time I was on here, we either blow teams away or we lose by 1 goal. Like there's
So
no.
what do we think it is that is the cause of that inconsistency? Because when we play well, we press hard, we pass crisply, we're courageous, we have good movement off the ball. When we play badly, we have none of that. Our passing has been abysmal up in the last few games. There's been no real passion or pressure. There's been no movement off the ball. Why is it? Do you think that we do it some games and not others?
So, but I think it's a young team. For one, we've got a lot of young players that are having to play a lot of football at the moment, and I think that is something to it. It is a very high risk, high reward type of game that we play as well. But I think clinicalness is our issue. Today we scored our first 3 shots. We were 3-0 up. Game's dead, done, and the amount of times that we have been in games where we've had similar opportunities to what we've had today and not scored them, and then the pressure comes back from the other team, and then we will concede that 1 goal, and then we just our problem is we start fast, and if we don't score within the first 10 minutes and they come on to us, I think that's when we can struggle a little bit. But we're only 15 months.
That's true to an extent, Tom. But if you think of Brighton and Chelsea, we were 2-0 up in both those games. You would have thought they'd be full of belief at that stage, but they still capitulated.
Yeah. But that's something that's ingrained into Tottenham Hotspur. I don't think that's a manager thing. I think that seems, with 11 times in the Premier League history, we've been 2-0 up and lost the game. Like that's, okay. Those kind of stats are. You can take them 2 ways. You can say, well, Tottenham have been in the Premier League every single year of its inception, so of course we're probably, hence why Everton have got the most losses.
It works out, Tom. It works out about once every 3.5 seasons. We play over 1,240 odd games. That's without being beaten in cup finals and things like that. And you'll get a reporter dig a stat up like that to bash us with, right? Once every 3.5 seasons. Going 32 seasons at 38 games. Just work it out in the chat where you are. And that's without all the cup competitions when we got through to finals,
Adrian, 100%. I get that, but it's a stat. It's there, and it's a stat that we've got because of the longevity in the league that we've got. If we were like West Ham diving in and out of the league for lots of times, then we wouldn't have that stat because you wouldn't be playing Premier League games. But we're saying inconsistency. Like I find a lot. When people are talking about inconsistency and then they go, oh, it's because we always play the same way. That doesn't make sense. Like you build consistency by doing the same thing over and over again until you do it consistently. We just have to accept that we are 15 months into Ange Postecoglou. We all agree that the players aren't good enough. Like there is so many players that we can improve on. And yet we're going, oh, he needs to change his ways. But if he changes his ways, then he's just going to be like any other manager. So get any other manager in. But we've had any other manager. That's also not worked. So why not commit to something with Ange Postecoglou and go the way that he wants to go, get in the players he needs to get, and play the way that he wants to play?
Can I just say a good evenings? Jesse first.
Yeah, do. Yeah, hi,
good evening, Miss.
Good
evening, Miss. Yeah, this is one for streaming. She's on nearly every hour of the day.
Yeah.
Right, and Graham, now how many points are you in front of me now, Graham? Because I ain't got many this weekend. I know that much.
I hate to tell you, Mark, I don't think many have got many points this week.
No, I was top of the online predictions league at one stage. I was on here spouting off. But the last time I looked, I think Graham was 16 points in front of me.
1, 2.
My inner ranger's come out, and I'm like falling away like whatever.
4.
Was there anybody?
Whilst you're talking about that, can I ask a question? And it comes back to what you were saying, Tom. About do we need better players? Do we need better players, or do we need the players that we've got to perform at their full potential more often?
Well, I mean, yes, they can perform at their full potential and they're good, but they're showing that they can't do it all the time. So therefore, your best players in the world are the players that can play at the top of their game every single game. That's the difference between great players and very good players. like Maddison is a very good player. He would become a great player if he played to his full potential every single game. Now, you could argue he could do that more consistently if he had better players around him and stuff as well. So, yes, we need the players to pick up their game a little bit, but we're asking a lot of the same sort of 12, 13 players over the last few games, as well. So I think squad depth is a lot for it, but also squad depth isn't just like being able to rotate a player. It's having people to push others on. Udogie has no one challenging for his position, and you kind of get that feeling when you watch him play sometimes. He's kind of like, well, I know I'm going to be playing the next game anyway. There's no pressure on his place. Better players are players that play more consistently.
I'm gonna come on to that. I'll just hold you there. For some of you maybe weren't on at the beginning, Colin in Indiana was meant to be on the show, had to pull out because of work commitments, and Tom's brilliantly come on as a late substitute.
Apologies.
Doing a superb job. So good evening, Colin. Good to hear from you. Hope all is well, and I will hopefully get you on the show as quickly as we can. Let's just go through the goals, because there's some really interesting stuff coming up about the system, about the players, and about Ange and the way he adapts and the way he doesn't. And there's been some, it's a bit curate's egg with Tottenham. You blow away Man City, blow away Southampton, blow away Aston Villa, blow away West Ham. And lose to Ipswich and lose to Fulham and stuff like that. But let's go through the goals quickly, because we did blow Southampton away today. Son 2-0, 12 minutes. And I'm thinking even at that point, Mark, Southampton, Jesus, they're just awful.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, we just walked through them. It was as if they had. It was almost like a training game. It was almost as though you had like the kids, like the under 15s or so.
Yeah.
Or so, and the first half, it was just like a training game. It was like keep ball for us. If we'd have really wanted to, we could have had 6, 7, 8. I mean, Lord knows. But you could see in the second half, we'd already won the game. And so with all the games coming up, we just, sat on it. Basically.
Are you saying, Mark, that Ange adapted and game managed that game?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all.
That is what you've just said. You said you can tell that we adapted and changed to be able to manage the game and not expend extra energy. So
I did not say that. I did not say we adapted and changed. We conserved energy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's have an argument later.
Time, are you?
Adrian, let's bring you in. I mean, I wrote Kulusevski 3-0.
I was when Kulusevski first. Yeah.
I think I wrote my original headline, and I've got that for the fourth one. 3-0, and you thought Spurs were easy to play against. I mean, it was like taking candy from a baby, wasn't it?
He is my favourite player. I mean, even when he first come, I'd seen him before he come to the club. I didn't know nothing about Bentancur, but I was put on to have a look at this sweet light, and I thought, and I like what I saw as a youngster. And he hasn't let me down. I mean, but he started well when he came in the club, 8 goals and X amount of assists. He came in January, and he didn't repeat his debut season form last year. And people were questioning him. Others were saying they wanted him out, but they wanted him out after 2 cameo performances. And then he got his debut away at Man City, and Son squared the ball for him to slice it in the net. He's quality, superb player, and we would really miss him. And like the guy's got unlimited stamina. He's like Sarr, he seems to have unlimited stamina, and sometimes his game's a bit off. Sometimes the ball don't stick with him and all that, but he's been very consistent. And I was pleased he got a goal because he needed one for all his good play. We need players to score goals, and he's come up with one, isn't he? So that was good. That was good. Yeah. I am a big fan of Kulusevski, though. Big fan.
Jem, 25 minutes, and Southampton are turning defending into a spectator sport as Sarr runs through them, or walks through them, and scores. It's a bit like watching us in the AJY all those years ago. 4-0.
Yeah, it felt very easy. And once we got to that stage, you felt like they kind of relaxed a bit, and they could do whatever they wanted. But I'm finding it difficult to get too enthusiastic about this result because as good as it was, we can't judge them on this performance.
No,
Sorry,
Tom, is that fair?
to be a downer on that? Yeah, I mean we absolutely did the job. You can only play what's in front of you, but by the same token, Southampton were really, really poor. We obviously just throttled down second half, and that was the right thing to do. It was absolutely right that we should conserve our players, conserve their energy. We've got some big games coming up. But good to see Kulusevski getting a goal. Good to see Sarr getting a goal. I'm a big fan of Maddison. Good to see him getting his goals. I want him to be playing with confidence and creativity. So there's lots of positives to take from it.
Yeah. I'll just go through a couple of things in the chat. Kev says 3-0, almost lost my nervousness. almost, but not quite. At 4-0, I was starting to think we might win. Audio, I think someone said that. Good evening, Mr. Audio Artisan. Always good to see you on, as Graham says as well. And always like this in the chat. And there was a comment about some of you may have met. I certainly know them. Tom will know them.
I know them.
South Dorset Spurs.
Big legends they are. They're legends. Lee.
Tony et al., isn't it? It's Tony's.
Lee, Jason, and all the gang. If you're watching, big up, guys. I know it's not far for you, Southampton, to go there. So
I've been to one game with them, and I've never been so drunk in the whole of my life.
And you don't like Scrumpy?
No, I don't. I'm allergic to it. No, it's horrible. It's horrible stuff.
The only West Country boy I know that's allergic to Scrumpy, but there you
go.
No,
it's horrible. It's horrible.
Tom, I mean, talk about SARS going through, but Southampton?
Yeah, I mean, so back on the point earlier, like, can we judge us on that one game? Of course we can't. We have to judge ourselves on how we've progressed through the season so far. But the one thing for me, it feels like when everything is on point and works and clicks, we just absolutely annihilate, and not just annihilate a really, really poor Southampton, but we've done it to City, we've done it to United, we've done it to enough teams now for us to know that on our day, we can literally beat anyone, and not just beat them, but absolutely destroy them. And it's not just this game, it's the fact that we've done that several times this season now, where it makes me go that if we carry on with this and if we commit to it, there is, I'm not saying it will, but there is evidence to show that it can work. Yes, there is also evidence to say that when it doesn't work, it's not great. But again, we haven't lost the game by more than one goal. And if you haven't lost the game by more than one goal, that means you're 1 goal away from a draw and 2 goals away from a win. So it's just, we've never been absolutely smashed by someone. And I think we can all agree that when we have lost, it hasn't felt necessarily like the team has completely battered us. It's felt like we've battered ourselves more than anything.
Chelsea, maybe.
So that means
Chelsea to an extent, but that was again a bit of a self implosion. 2-0 up, and then an injury to your centre back, and Porro letting Sancho just run through the middle of the thing. So again, a bit of self-implosion, but you've got to also give teams credit. Like, it's very easy for us to just go, oh, well, Southampton were poor, so of course we were going to win 5-0. Well, no, we made them look poor. We made them look poor by going right for the throttle, right for the jugular straight away and scoring goals from the off and then not letting up. How many times have we seen with previous managers when we scored 1-0, if we had scored 1-0 in the first 39 seconds, we then would have sat back on the edge of our box and invited pressure? No, we went for another one. And yes, sometimes that might be our undoing, but over a course of a season, I would like to think that is going to win us more games than it loses us.
I think this is going to turn into a really good next section of the show. I mean, Mark, that's right. And under Conte or Mourinho, you're 2 up in 12 minutes, and that's probably the end of the scoring. And you can go to bed, make your dinner, have a cup of tea, and you miss nothing.
It probably would have been, and I agree 100% what Tom said. You know, we did go for them, but you've got to remember. See, this game today, I want this to be the start of. All right, we all know Southampton are poor, and they're probably going to get relegated. But we did make them look poor. I agree with that. But no, I want this to be a start now of a run where we go on a run of 4 or 5 league games. Don't worry about the cup or anything else. Just league games. 4 or 5 games where we don't lose. All right, there might be some draws in there. But, you know, just go on a run. You know, because that's something we failed to do. Because we beat Man City and the next week we lose at home to Ipswich. You know, I mean, that's just ridiculous. You know, I want this to be the start now. Yes, Southampton are probably going to get relegated. I would say almost 100%. But we were, well, certainly after the first, 25 minutes when we were 4-0 up, like, the game was over. The game really was over then.
Bearing in mind, Mark, our next Premier League game is against Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. But, all right, the Liverpool game out of it. But, you know, if we could sneak a draw out of it, you know, just not lose. Just not go from sublime to ridiculous all the time.
I genuinely think we could beat them.
Like, I'm going to talk about Thursday night as well. I'm going to disagree with you, Mark. I think Thursday's massive. But Adrian, let's bring.
Well, it is. It is.
I can tell that people are. Okay, I'm gonna. You can put that one back, but I'm going to start with that, and then you can put that one back.
Sorry,
no, it's me, but that's okay.
I just want
to talk about the.
I just want to say something that probably all want to comment on that this was a massive 3 points for us today. I think it was an Ange job saver. And even with the fixtures coming up now, I've got no doubt now he's going to be with us for the rest of the season, because now you're going to get to January really, and we are in the cups, and the cups are important, you know. And like we're virtually, if you look at the 25th team in the Europa League, we're going to qualify. It would be embarrassing if it went to the playoffs. I think this really cemented Ange in his tenure at Spurs. I think it really did. You know what you think?
Well, let's talk. I mean, let's talk about this, because it also relates to the adaptability suddenly, because Man United, massive club, had a phenomenal win. I didn't watch it. I didn't see any of it. I was watching the Scottish League Cup final, but I gather United scored 2 very late goals to beat City.
They did.
Then Liverpool. I mean, that's season changing, these 2 games. If we didn't lose either of them, then we go to Forest, who are flying under Nuno, and they're Wolves at home. Who knows how well or badly they'll be doing, because they're in a complete mess. But they
sacked the manager.
Sorry?
They sacked their manager.
Yeah, I know that, but they can't sink any lower than. There've been players who have been fighting with people after the 2 games. It's like something out of a park league. But so these are massive games coming up. But oops, sorry, that was me. We'll talk about that. Let's talk about systems and adaptability, because Mark, you're still Angian, aren't you?
I've never truly, really. I know I moan about him all the time on these shows. But I want everyone at Tottenham to be a success, obviously. But the overwhelming frustration is that he doesn't seem to adapt. He plays the same way. It's his way or the highway all the time. Like, there's no adaptability whatsoever. And I honestly don't think the system that he's employed, it's okay in Celtic when you got the best team anyway. I know you're going to say he was behind Rangers, but they're one of the 2 big teams in Scotland. It's either them or Rangers that win the league every year. All right, he brought it back when Rangers won the league, when he turned up, or just before he turned up, and he turned it around and they won the league. But when you got the best players in the league anyway, then it's fine. But his system is not going to work in the Premier League. It's not. because how many injuries have we got now? We got half a team left where they got to run around like headless chickens for 90 minutes. The high line on the halfway line is killed Van Ven. You know, he's on the shelf now for Lord knows how long. And to me, it's just not going to work. If he could learn just to sit in, like we did against Man City twice, sit back and then hit him on the break. If he could learn to do that on a regular basis, I'm all for him. Because apart from the stupid goals we can see, the football when it clicks is superb. But it's just when we do our stupidness and we just let teams score at will against us, like the Chelsea game, like when the two fullbacks disappear up by Maddison and we're left wide open at the back. It's nonsense. I'd like a cross. I'd like a cross between sort of Poch's system and Ange. You know,
I don't get it. I don't get it. Go on, Jem. Go on.
Yeah. Let me. I'll go around the table, Adrian. Jem,
I don't get it, Mark. I mean, I struggle with your perception at times on your views of games because, I mean, when I've said to people on other podcasts, like, he has adapted, what they're really getting at is they want him to change the system, which he's not going to do. He's adapted. Adapting his tactical switches. When you
no, it isn't, Adrian. Adrian, it's just bringing other players to do the same job.
No, it's not. Let me finish, right? Tactical switches are adapting, right? In my book, every day of the week and twice on Sundays, right? In the first game away at Leicester, you had Sonny on the left, you had Solanke in the middle, you had Johnson on the right. Next game, when Solanke was injured, he put Son in the middle. That's adapting. That's a tactical change. That's an adaptation as far as
No, he had no choice. He had no choice.
Hold on. He could have done anything with the team, Mark, that he wanted to do. He's the manager, right?
Solanke was injured.
Hold on. In the next game, when he adapted, he played Decky through the middle. That's a tactical switch. Decky's not a number 9. He played him through the middle. He brought Basuma back then when he was on his band for the no laughing matter with a laughing gas, right? I've seen 3 and 4 of our defenders on the halfway line. We've only conceded 1 goal from a breakaway this year. When people talk about this high line, it's the biggest load of rubbish I've heard in my life. Seriously.
That's your opinion.
It's fact. It's fact, Mark.
Well, it's not fact.
Show me the goals. Show me the videos when we've conceded goals from playing high line, and then show me, like other people say, oh, he's got 2 on the halfway line. Well, show me the videos where we've had 2 on the halfway line. It's rare.
I will look them out, Adrian. I will look them out and send them to you.
And also,
let you two just.
We've conceded 15 goals in the left-hand side of our goal mouth, right? And most of them goals, if you go and watch them and go and look at a slide, we've had 6, 7, 8 people in the box. And the reason we've been inconsistent is because it's shocking score by defending in our own penalty area, not through being beaten on the high line. It's the biggest load of rubbish I've heard in my life.
Right, let's move this on. Mark, I'm going to move this on.
You carry on.
David, you missed the game. That's a pity because one of our better performances, I'm not going to say it was the best because although we won really easily, we're up against a very poor side. But Maddison was man of the match for anybody. If anybody's arguing it, I'd be surprised. He scored twice. Was one of those Maddison performances where he was just everything was going through him. Everybody clicked because of what Maddison was doing. That's my view, Jem. But let's talk about this. I mean, I'm not sure I agree with either Mark or Adrian on this. When we talk about adaptability and talk about for me, that's about formation changes. But you're obvious. I mean, I know because I've known you an awful long time about you liking to see the game played the right way, and Ange, at least in theory, plays the game the right way.
And I think the system has proved that it can work. The question is whether it can work consistently. And I'd like to open it up a little bit wider than that, because it's not only the system, it's the process. And it's not only the process for on the field, it's the process for finding the right players, keeping the players fit. You know, we've got people like Scott Munn and Adam Brett and Johan Langer in the club who are supposed to be managing the medical side, the performance side, the football side of the business. I do wonder what those guys are doing. I wonder, the number of hamstring injuries that we have is a real worry. Is there something going on there that we need to, really need to look at? And we talk about Levy out and Enick out and all that stuff. If we look at the amount of money that Spurs have spent over the last 10 years and the net spend over 10 years, it's no different to what Arsenal have spent. It's probably a lot more than City have spent, a lot more than Liverpool have spent. Chelsea, of course, have outspent us, and so have United, but United are no better off. The issue is more about, have we bought the right players? And you look at teams like Brentford and Fulham and Forest and Villa and Bournemouth and Newcastle, and they're consistently turning out players who are showing real passion for the game in a way that we're only doing sporadically. That's my kind of biggest concern.
Jem, you're right. But since the stadium's opened in 2019, we've spent over $1 billion on players. Over $1 billion. Right. And in some cases very badly, Adrian. Exactly.
So
we spend money,
you look at the Brighton team, and I know they had a bad result today, but I was looking back. The Brighton team 4 years ago, it had Ben White and Trossard and Bissouma and Mopé and McAllister and Caicedo and Byrne and Lallana and Sanchez. All those guys, they've sold every one of them. You could not believe that a team could get rid of so many good players and still be up there challenging, and yet the data-driven approach that they take to player acquisition, as do Brentford, seems to have paid dividends in a way that somehow our scouting system, our acquisition system, look at Werner and I look at Richarlison, and I can't help but shake my head in despair.
So for me, obviously the data-driven thing, we are now doing that, but we are years behind a Brentford and a Brighton and stuff like that. I know we say your Brentfords and your Brightons. I would actually say the signings we made this summer were very Brighton Brentford-esque. In fact, so much so that Brentford were trying to sign Archie Gray, and actually the year before Brentford tried to sign Brennan Johnson, although I think the jury's still out on Brennan Johnson. They were very those things, but the problem is that at Brighton and at Brentford, the expectation levels of the fans are different, where they're not expecting instant success with these players. These players will just kind of suddenly grow into the team and then they'll explode. Whereas we're like, we've spent loads of money on an 18-year-old and we needed a bit more than that and stuff. So us as fans have probably got to manage our expectations more, or at least I think the biggest issue is that Brighton and Brentford have a very clear and obvious direction and what's the word, like personality of the club, a real clear identity as a club of what they are, what they're going to do, and they always stick to it. And with Brighton especially, look at all their managers that they've brought in since Graham Potter are all very similar to each other. So that they're not reinventing the wheel. We've gone from Pochettino to Mourinho, couldn't get much more different to each other, to then Nuno, to Conte, to then Conte to Postecoglou, couldn't be any more different in terms of footballing identity that you could pick. And that's very hard to build a team when you're changing your manager so wildly. And that's why if I hope now that they've got Scott Munn, and I don't know if he's any good, to be honest with you, and Langer and stuff like that.
But that Langer, if you notice with that Langer, Aston Villa didn't fight to keep him.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't kick up a fuss, did he, when he left?
Sporting directors move around all the time, so it's one of those things. But yes, okay, they might not have, but he was responsible for bringing in Ollie Watkins. He was responsible for bringing in Leon Bailey. He was responsible for bringing in Moussa Diaby. He was responsible for bringing in John Duran. He was responsible for a lot of very good players who are playing very well for Villa now. So he can do it, but he needs the time, and we need to stick with an identity, and the club needs to go, this is what we're doing, and we're going to stick with it, and we're not going to just after 18 months when things go a little bit wrong, we're going to cut dry and restart and rip it up and start again. They just need to stick with something, have an identity, and stick with that identity, and then the fans can actually get on board with something and get behind something as well.
Do you think the director of football though is hampered by the man upstairs, the head chief?
I mean, I don't. The honest answer is I don't know, because I'm not there.
No,
and
none of
anyone
us know.
who thinks they know are completely speculating. But hampered or given guidelines, like he will almost be given a remit of, this is how much money you've got to work with.
Exactly.
You work with it how you see fit, and that's what Levy needs to do. I don't think Levy's very good at maybe relinquishing all that control, because you still see a few deals with Levy's fingerprints all over it. But Levy can just let it go and just be like, here's your budget, go, you guys, you work the football side. I think then we might start seeing stuff happen. But I just don't think Levy can do that, to be honest with you.
No.
And that's always going to be a big problem. But talking of, going back to like hamstring injuries, actually every club is dealing with hamstring injuries, and I think that's probably the fact that they're playing 2 games a week every single week. Sometimes 3 games in a week. There's just so much football being played, and it's such a high intensity now that I think a lot of teams are struggling with hamstring injuries. My one thing was Van de Ven, before he even came to Spurs, had a big hamstring injury when he was at Werder Bremen or Wolfsburg, one of those. But he had a big hamstring injury before he came to us. So did they do the research on that before getting him in? But also, I would say that's definitely worth the risk because of how good of a player he is. My biggest concern is not the fact that they signed him and knowing that he's got hamstring history injuries. Why did they not sign a backup? That's you've gone into the season, 1 left back and 1 left centre back. Okay, Davis has done well when he's come in, but that's not the type of backup you need. You need a backup that where the drop off isn't too significant.
But Tom, your problem with Davis is he doesn't play any football. Then suddenly he's playing twice a week in big intense games. Is it any wonder that his muscles say, hang on a minute, what the hell's going on here? I'm giving up for a week.
He's Mr. Consistent though, isn't he? He is Mr. Consistent when he comes in.
The reason why Davis doesn't play is because he's not to the I have no bad words for Davis. He's never been Mr. Brilliant, and he's never been Mr. Terrible. He's just been steady Ben throughout his whole
exactly what I say. It's exactly what I say.
But the drop-off from Van de Ven to Ben Davis is huge. It is like over a course of a season, it is a massive drop-off. And we need that drop-off to be not here. We need it to be here. And that way you can rotate those players more often and not see a significant drop-off when you have that.
There's been a lot of noise around Johan Lange, and I'm not up with it because I'm pretty sure that most fans out there that make the noise don't even know what he does, what his role is, or anything like that. I mean, there's at least 5 in the recruitment team because you got Scottman, like you said rightly, Tom. He holds the purse strings. Levy says, right, this is what you've got, barring player sales, right? This is what you got for your transfer budget. That's it. So after him, you've got Rob McKenzie, who's the chief scout of the club. Then you got Max Leggett, right? He's the first team scout from we got from Bayern Munich. He's the first team scout. You've got Ange, right? He's part of the setup when I have meetings as well, and I'm missing one. So but there's at least 5, and there is no excuse for not getting a left back in. It was the one first position I wanted filled in the summer. As much as I'd wanted Eze on the left back, with the 2 I wanted actually. Some dream in there though.
I'm going to bring in, because something Jem raised with me about where Yang and Vuskovic are going to fit in to the team or into the squad come January. And that raises a point, Adrian, about not wanting to sign a player because he doesn't want to block the path of Phillips. He doesn't want to block the path of Dorrington. And then presumably he doesn't want to block. I'm talking about defence now, of Vasovic into the front team,
Vasquez
into the first team.
It is the interesting one because actually he's not 18 years old till the 24th of February. Now, whether he can be registered and added to the first team squad.
You're talking about Vasquez?
Yeah, instead of not, and he looks, what I've seen him in 4 goals, he can play as a 6 as well. And he's a 10.
Adrian, I didn't think you had to register players under 21.
He's a signed player, no, but you've got to be 18. You've got to be 18
Right.
under English employment law, right? This is why when you get kids to 16, you can give them a 2-year scholarship with only a 1-year professional contract. You're not allowed to exploit them either. So Vasquez, I'm not totally sure on the standing. I don't know if because he is a player, but he's not legally entitled to play till he's 18. So I don't know if him being a player, we can bring him in, not loan him out. Because there's 2 contrasts. People say, when he comes in, he's got to be loaned out. I'm not so sure about that. I think why can't we just keep him and then bring him into that first team squad when he is 18 on the 24th of February? Because I looked into this. I mean, I'm still not sure. I've got to be honest. But I think they're going to keep him because they want to run the eye over him. Everywhere he's been, from Croatia to the other leagues he's been now with Westerlo with Alfie Devine, right? He stepped up. He's stepped up every time, and he scored some belters as well, for a centre back. But I don't know. I still don't know where we stand with Vasquez.
I mean, there's just that. I've just pulled that up. SofaScore. I don't know who SofaScore is. Audio. It's obviously someone from a chat I don't know. Says Vuskovic is staying at Westerlo for the season. So
yeah,
I mean, and that may be
my
right.
understanding as well.
Yeah, we're actually, I think they're doing arrangements with Westerlo, and Westerlo want to have a permanent arrangement with Spurs where they can take some of the young kids and blood them. And I'm all for that because at least they give them game time. You know what I mean? They have been giving them game time. So, yeah.
So a Spanish international left. Oh, who's that? Reguilon.
Yeah.
Reguilon.
Is Reguilon Spanish? I thought it was Argentine.
No, he's Spanish, but he's not part of Ange's. Ange doesn't want him. He hasn't wanted him since he got there. I get it, and I probably would give him the opportunity, but he's not gonna. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the first week of January he hopefully is moved on somewhere.
He can sign for other clubs in January. He can. This is his last year in his contract. He can sign for other clubs in January. So I think he'd be gone because I think he was partying with Basuma and someone else. There was all these little rumours flying around,
Was that the one during the COVID time that was having the party?
Yeah.
When Mourinho was in charge.
Yeah, Mourinho.
And he had a joint of ham or something delivered to his house.
So he played well, and he was basically supposedly going to be spending Christmas on his own during COVID.
Yeah.
So Mourinho had bought him like the traditional
joint
ham or something like that, and then a bunch of photos surfaced of him around Lo Celso and all the Argentine's house, and it's like, great, good one.
I mean, I've heard that we're going to call Phillips back from loan, and if Phillips and Dorrington, I mean, was it Mark or Tom? It was you that was saying, I mean, about the centre halves. I mean, your first choice. Oh, hang on, my phone has just come up on my screen. Russell Martin sacked by Southampton after 5-0 defeat. So that's maybe not much of a surprise after that. I mean, I think I'd have sacked any manager after that. But Tom, your first choice centre halves are a Dutch international, an Argentine World Cup winner, and your second choice are a Romanian international and the captain of Wales. I mean, what sort of strength in depth can you conceivably have and have people happy to sit in the stands?
I mean, the captain of Wales, it's not really saying much. Like, if yes, okay, he's captain of Wales, but it's Wales. Like, I don't mean that in a harsh way. I know Bale was the captain of Wales, and that's a very different story. But yes, you need depth. But you say that, like, why? I don't know why we pigeonhole or reduce ourselves. Why can't we have even better players all challenging for the same position. The reason why is because we won't pay the wages for to have that many is one. But we've always done this. Why we did this with Harry Kane? Oh, there'll never be someone who wants to be a backup for Harry Kane. It was like, yeah, they will. You just have to pay them the money to come and challenge and do it. And that's not something we've ever wanted to do. And that's the thing for me. It's for years as Spurs, I've always felt like, as fans, we've always gone, oh yeah, but we've got like the best 11. It's like, great. Well, what about the other 9 players that even under Poch, we was like, yeah, but our first 11's better than any first 11 in the league. And it's like, yeah, but then when whoever gets injured, we're bringing on Nasser Chadley. Like, no, wrong, he had his moments, but the drop off again was just so significant.
Harry Winks and Reddy. What's his name? Yeah, Harry Winks and what's his name? Went to Bayern Munich, Kane's mate.
Dyer. Eric
Dyer. Yeah, that's when Poch was there.
Adrian, let me bring you in on a slightly different point. The stadium we were told was the game changer. That with a 36,000 seater stadium, even with high ticket prices, etc., we didn't have the numbers that would enable us to compete with the Cities, the Uniteds, the Arsenals. We now have a 62,000 seater stadium. We have even higher prices, and yet the signing philosophy seems to be to sign young players with sell-on potential, rather than players that are oven ready, can go in and turn you into a top 4 and then championship winning European Cup challenging side. We're never going to get there because we're always going to be buying players that Levy's looking at the sell-on value of. Of
course.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 11 players in that squad that are under 24 years of age, and Tom alluded to the young players earlier on. And the problem is we brought young players in when we got young players that were in the team last year still developing. Udogie, Sarr, Johnson, right? VDV, 22, 23. They're still developing. We're bringing young players. We brought in. I mean, I like the look of Graham Bergvall, but they weren't oven ready when they came in. Gray looked the more because he played in the Championship, but they're looking a bit now. But we needed a bit more. We certainly need more grit in midfield. Even now, we need it. I mean, because that's one of the reasons I believe we've been inconsistent, because the midfield just can't hold it together for several games on the turn. They just can't do it. Right. Now, I'm not putting Graham Bergvall into that because they're new. But Maddison, man of the match today, fair enough, if you're listening, David Clark. but he hasn't been consistent. Basuma hasn't. I think Basuma's the biggest one under threat. But going back to the stadium, like I said, what the stadium did, it gave us a massive revenue streams, right? But we haven't bought well. We spent loads of money. We should have done better with our recruitment. But then we spent loads of money, and we also brought in players like Joe Rodon, Jack Clark, players like that. I mean, that was just a total waste. It was like the wrong direction to go, right, on them when you needed a bit more experience in the side even back then. If we'd have spent, we spent a lot of money on Lascelles signing Don Belly, and even Davinson Sanchez cost 42 million, didn't he? But if Poch had been backed at the right time, we would probably have ended the trophy drought a lot earlier, But no, I agree. The stadium has been a game changer in the sense of the revenue it's brought in. We are spending more money than we've ever spent on wages and on players. But, we got this getting the recruitment hasn't been got right. I think before Ange come in, I think we brought in 29 players since the stadium opened, 29. And spent 685 million. It was 600 to 685 million when I'm run with one report. And under Ange, your net spend in the 2 seasons so far, because I did this recently, the transfer market, is like 245 million, which is like 125. There's a banner here somewhere, but the net spend is 240 odd million. So I fear for this transfer window, because we've already spent 2 lots of 120 million. And I'm wondering, what is there to spend? And within these new rules, because there's no transparency. Obviously the club don't want to give away what they can spend, puts up the price of players, but there's no sort of transparency. No one's come down and said what these new rules, the SCR, the squad cost ratio rules that have changed from financial fair play and profit sustainability rules. There's no clarity, but we failed better in the transfer market recently. That's what I call it. I say we failed better, right? But there's holes in the squad. I mean, like, we need a left back. We need a midfielder, a gritty midfielder and a quality midfielder, don't we? We need another number 9 because Richarlison's got to go, isn't he? Right? So that's the minimum of 3, isn't it? We're not going to bring 3 in January unless we could bring 1 or 2 in, unless we get loans in to carry us through the season. But I get what Andy said when he said to us, I want to see what shape the squad's in by the time we get through to the window. We might have players back. And that if you get injuries in a horrible position, right, then you might have to go out and replace the wounded. But
No.
I mean, is there anyone on the panel that would keep Bissouma at the club if they could get shot of him? Because I would like you'd keep him.
I'd keep him.
Yeah, I'd keep him. Definitely.
No. Sorry, I was thinking. No, I wouldn't keep him. No, I'd get rid of him.
He's not the player he was when we signed him from Brighton. I mean, when he's on song, he reminds me a lot of Moussa Dembele, the way you can't get the ball off him. But then that's only once in a blue moon. Now, going back to the stadium, what you were talking about, it's the biggest lie that the club has ever sold the fans. Ever sold the fans. This stadium was meant to be the game changer. It was meant to put us up there with Man City and Chelsea and all the rest of them that win all the trophies. We were going to pay the top wages. At the moment, we're on some sort of like sick form project. I mean, how much did the club lower the wages by last year? Was it 40-something million a year they lowered the wages by?
I've never seen that quote false, but source, but
it was something like that because we sold all the top earners and brought kids in on peanuts.
But out of that 549 million we earned in total revenue streams last year, we paid 252.1 million, I think, was out in wages. And nearly half of our revenue went in wages. And I think for one period, our wages were higher than Arsenal's.
But that was before we sold all the top earners, like Lloris, like Greg Dyer, Harry Kane moved on.
In fairness, Adrian, I don't think any of us have got the figures to hand. Our wages to turnover ratio is actually really
terrible.
low.
It's terrible. It is terrible compared to the rest of the time.
Mark, you say terrible. Let me put the other side of that coin.
Terrible in context of wanting to win.
The vast majority of clubs have a wages to turnover ratio that is unsustainable for any business.
Yes. No other
to be honest, runs with a wages to turnover.
My thing, Ian. No. But my thing is, I don't want us to put ourselves into a position of financial, disrepair. But we're 40-50% of our revenue. Like, if you push that to 60-70%, you would be massively improving the caliber of players. As long as you recruit wisely, you'd be massively improving and not having a massive financial hit to the club. But again, it all comes down to recruiting wisely and not penny pinching on the players that are going to be the ones that make the difference, and then making a last. Like, the one that always sticks in my head was we and ahed and we didn't want to pay the wages for Sadio Mane, and then we ended up spending more money signing Moussa Sissoko as a panic buy-in thing. Now, obviously, I know we're 6-7 years removed from there, but we still see things like that happen.
There's many more than that. There's many more than that. We could have had Jack Grealish.
I mean,
we could have had Jack Grealish, and Levy was haggling over like 5 million quid.
No, 100%. But you've also got to acknowledge that they have done some good deals as well. Kulusevski being one, Bentancur being one. Maddison hopefully will bear fruit, and I think we was all very, very excited about that signing because that actually felt like a Prem-proven player that we should have been signing and stuff. I think the overwhelming thing for me that's just felt like a letdown from the last two or all the three transfer windows that Andrew's had is the first transfer window. We seem to buy quite a few top like good Premier League proven players with like Maddison and co. And then we then finished 5th, which no one was expecting us to finish 5th when we in our first season with Ange. We finished 5th, and our way of pushing on and improving, considering that, you know, we mostly finished 5th because of our first 10, 12, 13 games in the league. To push on to the next level, we signed one Premier League proven player.
Yeah, Solanke, yeah.
It's just, but I'm hoping the thing that I've noticed is the amount of players that we got rid of in the summer that we needed to get rid of clearly was the thing that took the forefront of the sporting side of things. We got rid of Ndombele, we got rid of Højbjerg, we got rid of, you know, lots of players that
all the top earners, all the top earners, by the way. Harry Kane.
Yeah, 100%. But you get rid of they've got rid of those. Again, this is all hope. I'm not saying this will happen, but my hope now is that you got rid of those top earners that were earning top money. Like, Ndombele was the highest earner in the club.
Yeah.
Was he worth it? No, he wasn't. So it's not always a case of paying top wages gets you top players.
Yeah.
We've now hopefully put ourselves in a position where for as long as I can remember, it's always been, well, Spurs are going to have to sell a player to be able to buy a player. Spurs are going to have to move this one out if they want to get another one in. And we're now in a position where we can sign players without having to move ones on. Okay, we might have to do some digging and wiggling with, like, you know, who can with homegrown players and things like that. But we're not hearing, well, Spurs need to sell Basuma to sign X midfielder. This is the first transfer window where I feel like we're not hearing they have to sell this player before they can buy that one, and that's hopefully a good thing.
Yeah, there's no excuse, is there?
Well, there isn't really now, and the fans, you know, we were all seeing that, and what was nice today is frustrations were being thrown by the away fans towards Levy.
Towards Levy. I heard him.
Whilst
the best song
manager,
today. The best song was it?
Yeah, but
I don't care about Levy. He don't care about me.
Yeah. Care about
it's fine. But the most important thing is, as fans, you need to, if you've got those frustrations with how things are going, they need to be voiced when things are going well, not just when things are going bad, because we know what Levy's like. If everything's going bad and we start getting on his back, then all he's going to do is sack the manager. And I hope today has made it very obvious that actually the vast majority of the fans are behind Ange and want Ange to succeed and feel like he needs to be backed. And my one thing is, I just feel like a lot of fans are very catch-22 with things where they want a manager to be brave and be, you know, themselves and say everything that we want to say. But then when he actually says things that we kind of want him to say, then people go, oh, I can't believe you said that. Like, you know, someone, I can't remember who it was earlier, but someone said about him sort of digging Werner out. Well, he didn't dig Werner out. He was asked a question about Werner and he gave an honest opinion about Werner. You know, there's far worse said by all of us about players than what Ange said about Werner in that moment. And at the end of the day, Werner is earning 175 grand a week, is meant to be a German international, and he couldn't even control a ball that was coming at him at like 2 miles an hour. So yeah, something does need to be.
I thought he dug him out. To be honest with you, especially after what he criticised Romero for doing when he was abroad and all that. But on the wages thing, I mean, I'm not comfortable when people try and compare what we pay in wages to other clubs, because you're comparing like a club like Spurs has got a massive revenue stream with wages, and I admit we should pay more. Then you'll have clubs that, they pay 60 or 65%. Yeah, but their club's earning 200 million a year, not 549 million a year. There's a big difference. It's what we actually pay is what counts, and we should be getting players in on better wages.
Adrian,
and we've done it with the
completely understand that. Sorry to cut you in, but you've answered your own question there. The club has created this stadium and this way of being
cash machine. It's not a stadium; it's a cash machine.
Let me finish. Has managed to create this way of creating mass revenue that was meant to give us the upper edge over other people, whilst doing it in the proper way, not by someone coming in and just financially doping, by the proper way of doing things, and we're not capitalizing on that. We're earning all of this money, and we're doing it in the right way, and we're not capitalizing on it, and that is so frustrating. And that is something that you can beat Levy for. Well done. You've done this, and you've managed to create this, and we're getting all this money in, but you're now not capitalizing on that. We've got this advantage over clubs, and we're not using it. That's just idiotic for me.
No, we should. I mean, we've tried it. It's a question of like whether. See, what we don't know, we don't know with some of these players we get linked with, and then we get some people that come back and say, "Oh, we weren't willing to pay the wages. We don't get the player." Sometimes we find out the player we weren't even in for that player in the first place anyway. You know, it's like I don't know how much transparency the club can give you on things without, you know, ruining their hand when it comes to dealing for transfers. Like, but we should pay more in wages for the right players, for players that are worth it. You know what I mean, that's what.
Can I just say,
Jem? Let me.
Can I just say?
Let me bring Jem in because he hasn't had a chance for a little while. I mean, isn't that the problem, that Levy will not pay the wages that will attract the players that will take us to the next level?
I think it probably is. I think the stadium has clearly generated massive amounts of money, but all it's allowed us to do is keep up with some of the other better teams in the division rather than eclipse them. So until the policy comes along that says we've got to pay a higher percentage of our revenue in wages, I can't see that's going to change. But that's, you know, do we know that anybody else who would take over from Ennick or Levy is going to have that approach, or are they going to have a much more pragmatic approach, which Levy has had? And, you know, you can criticise him all you like, and there's no doubt he's done some stupid things. He missed out on some big opportunities. But a lot of the good things that have happened at Spurs have been because of him. You know, the fact that he did appoint Pochettino in the first place.
Well,
that was more luck than judgment, though.
You can't have it. No, Mark, I'm not letting you away with that. You can't say when he gets it right, it's luck, but when it's bad, it's down to his poor judgment. I'm not having that.
You know,
Seeing as we're talking about the owners, I implore anybody who's going to the game Saturday, get to the protest.
No.
Oh, okay.
Personally, I don't think it's helpful. I think if it will reach a stage naturally where Levy wants to sell, and Ennick wants to sell, but just a small group of fans suggesting that they want him out without having any practical alternative doesn't seem to help the situation to me.
Yeah. So I understand where you're coming from, but it's not down to the fans to find a practical. I don't have a bunch of mobile phone numbers in my phone to be able to ring up and say, "Oh, just fancy buying Spurs." But at the same time, I also appreciate it is not my football club. I support the football club. It's not mine. It is his. Well, it's Joe Lewis's. It's whoever owns it. It's their club. It's their money. It's their business. They want to run it as a business, and actually, they should be running it as a business. They shouldn't just be running it as this play toy that they just dump a load of money on and then bugger off back to Russia when they're done with it. Like, so it is. I see it from both sides and stuff, but I mean, saying, "Oh, you can't say you're unhappy with something without providing a better alternative." Well, it's hard because, you know, until something's presented in front of us as an alternative, it's hard to say. And actually, you know, there was that rumor of the Dallas Cowboys owner, and that got presented in front of us, and everyone went, "Oh God, absolutely not!" Like, so, you know, there is a bit of give and take with that.
Yeah, and there are plenty of people who are saying, "No, I wouldn't have a Qatari company. I wouldn't have a Saudi company. You know, the only ones I would have would be American companies, but you know, they're probably just as bad as anybody else. So be careful what you wish for."
Yeah, 100%. And but the thing is, ultimately, no matter what, it ain't our decision. Like, even if you had all 60,000 people in that stadium chanting for them to go, he ain't going to go until someone offers him the money that he wants and thinks the club's worth. So
the only thing that's going to happen in the stadium is if at next home game, when there is allegedly alleviate protest. If that starts in the stadium, the only person that will suffer from that is Ange because he'll be sacked. And we've seen it time and time again.
Not necessarily. It depends. It depends in the context of how it's happening and when it's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Like that. But
right. Anyway, look, guys, I've sent you all a message in the private chat, so I'm just going to move on because I think this is a discussion to have, but probably not at this time of night, and people will, find they've got work tomorrow and stuff like that. But a couple of things I want to raise, and that's Dibbling, a Spurs player in the making. I thought his whole style. He fits absolutely.
He looks a star of the future to me.
Yeah,
looks a star of the future.
Good technique, wasn't it, for them
Yeah.
shots? He took the ball and he took the ball quickly, isn't he? And each time he took the ball quickly and he got his shot off and all that. Yeah, not to get one today.
They're a club famous for producing all the young. I mean, look how many youngsters have come up through their academy. Theo Walcott, wasn't it? Gareth Bell. There's been an endless string. Yeah, Shearer. There's been a string of them over the years.
They've got a really good club for that. Always been.
We stole two of their staff though this year. We stole Chapman and whatever, and they put them with our academy. Now they're now with our academy. We took their two top men for the under 18s and that.
I just find it hilarious. So we've just spent the last 45 minutes talking about how we've got to stop signing youngsters and start signing ready-made players, and now all of a sudden everyone on the panel's gushing over a 17-year-old player. I mean, he is very, very good, and he looked great. And if we could get him as well as getting the players we need, then absolutely, we should do it. But he looked very good.
I think there's two possible routes, aren't there? One is that we go out and buy proven stars, and traditionally, Spurs did that in the past, back in maybe the 60s, 70s, 80s. The other route is that you give Ange the opportunity to build a team by finding young players with really good potential, and I think Archie Gray and Bergvall are two great examples of that, and let him build a team out of those players, and hopefully Yang and Vuskovic will add to those. I mean, there are some really exciting young players at the club. We've seen it with Mikey Moore. We've seen it with Lancashire. There is the potential for that to be a really good team 3 or 4 years down the line. My fear is that team gets old before it gets good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it's well known, actually. It's well said throughout the footballing thing that Spurs have probably got the best batch of kind of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds around at the moment. And most of that, unfortunately, has come from us purchasing rather than us necessarily developing. But it is happening. Mikey Moore's obviously proof to that, the Lancashire and stuff like that. And, we do have a great batch of young players. We've got so many now, there's only so many you can keep adding to that. But I back to the original question, I thought Dibbling was their only real bright spark throughout that. But I think I probably would have been a bright spark if I was playing for Southampton today, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay, going to wrap it up soon because I know people are telling me they want to go to bed and it is late. It was a late start for obvious reasons. But I think my opinion, Adrian, is this is the biggest game of the season so far on Thursday.
Yeah, because we've got a good chance of winning the trophy. I mean, there's 3 games away: quarterfinal, semi-final, 2 games in the final, and we beat them away. And there's no reason why we can't beat them at home. And this win today would give the players a bit more belief. And I'm hoping Bergvall starts over Basuma, and it's a kick up his backside. And I hope Bergvall does start. And and I wouldn't mind Spence starting, but we don't know until the players go through all their warm downs and all that, if any of them have got little slight knocks, niggles, or whatever. So we won't know. Well, I don't know when Angel did doing his press conference. Probably Wednesday. I don't know. So I'm going. So I'm really looking forward to it. And these are the games you want to go and see anyway. Because you want to be involved in these games. And team. Well, there's still a great selection of players to pick from, but at least he can put his trust in Bergvall now. I've been impressed with Bergvall. I'm impressed with him.
I was impressed with Sarah as well today.
I like his passing range. I like his passing range. It's much better than Basuma's. Admittedly, Basuma's quicker on the turn and spinning round or whatever. And Basuma sometimes he holds on to the ball when he sort of dribbles and he drifts out wide. And I think he loses his discipline in midfield where he should be. And then we leave gaping holes, and I've seen gaping holes in our midfield because he's not there. But like, I like Bergvall. I mean, but we want it now. I mean, Mark's banged on it about the past. You know, and I said, where were the oven ready players? You know, fans they haven't had success. I've experienced 14 trophies. You know, I mean, but like, but
I think Bergvall got the potential to make the difference that Odegaard made at Arsenal.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
I was impressed with Sarr as well today. But I was very impressed with Sarr.
And Ange made a point, although he looks like today, he looked more like a sort of a central 8 to me, but we know he can play 10 on the right side. He can play on the right as well, on the right side of midfield as well. But Ange said in a press conference the other day, he said, I can even see him as a number 6, which was an interesting comment. I mean, like, because I don't see that as yet, you know. I mean, we haven't seen Gray play as a number 6. We've seen him bust the midfield against Chelsea in the cup game a while back, you know, so he's got it.
I'm glad you said Gray because I thought he was great today, and everyone's been moaning about, you know, him playing right back, him playing left back, him playing centre. That's not good for his development. No, it bloody well is. It absolutely is good for his development. And the thing is, and you wouldn't even think that he looks that out of sorts, like considering he's played every position for us so far this season, apart from the one position that is meant to be his position. But I thought he was fantastic today, and then he seamlessly transitioned over to left back, like later on in the game, and was good. He just looks so good on the ball, and playing games, even if not in your actual position, is going to build intelligence. It's going to build experience, and I think he's going to be.
It could end up being.
Hang on, Jim. Guys, thanks
for
your contribution. I'm going to knock it off soon because I know people are looking to get off because they've told me, but. Thanks for your contribution tonight, and hopefully see you next week. Go on, carry on. Sorry.
I think Gray could end up being the leader we so desperately need.
I thought he was good today. I thought he was good at Ibrox on Thursday, and what was a really, really poor performance all round. Just a quick question, because as I say, I know people are looking to get off from the chat, but. The players that were taken off, Madison, Spence, and Solanke, does that give you an indication that maybe he's thinking, I'm going to start with those 3? I know Spence hasn't had a lot of football, probably didn't intend to play him for 90 anyway, but is that an indication that Madison will start, Spence will start, and Solanke will start?
I think he'll start with Madison and Solanke. Not sure about Spence. I think he took Spence off because Spence just hasn't played and he doesn't want to burn him out.
And even Bergvall was cramping up towards the end of the game.
Yeah,
I'm glad Dorrington's over his ACL injury, because when I watched all them under-21 games, like, he looked superb right on the ball. But so does Phillips as well. So I don't believe we'll be going in for a centre back. And we got 4. What's the point of having 5 or 6 when as Ian alluded to, they're going to sit on the bench? Dorrington didn't put a foot wrong when he came on. He was all right. So
yeah, he made one mistake which they scored from, but was ruled off for offside. But from that, actually, testament to him, he didn't let his head drop from that. He still.
He's good on the ball. He's good. He's good. Mind you, so is Phillips. Something like that. But he's good on the ball.
To be honest, I think the most important position for us, we need a left back.
Left back should be the priority.
Another attack. I would love a true number 6, monster number 6, or a good playmaking number 6, like, you know, a De Jong or something like that. But that's never going to happen. But I think a left back and an attacker. To be honest, I see us getting Jonathan David in is mine.
Well, I can see us getting loans in the way this club goes. You know, I can see him going for loans. Jonathan David's in the last year of his contract, so you've got signing on fee for him. You know, Angel Gomez is there as well. He's at Lille as well, isn't he? Been linked with him. But it's just one midfielder going to... I mean, if we bring a midfielder in and we got 7 with Decky, then if you're going to use Graham Bergwell, fine. But otherwise, you've got to get rid of someone. And I'm getting rid of Basuma if it's me. If we're bringing he goes.
I'd let Basuma go, but... if we can get the right players in. Okay. Predictions for Thursday. Well, no, one more thing. Adrian, this is your baby.
I did update the thing that you should have it there. The banner should be there.
It will be there somewhere. Yeah, just keep talking amongst yourselves.
Right, okay, yeah. I can see it.
I just think, we're
well
4-0 up today, 5-0 up today, and we've still got key players getting yellow cards. That to me is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, Bentancur comes back from his ban. He gets it picked if it's before Christmas, because after the 19th game, you got the amnesty. But if you pick 5 cards up in the second part of the season, you get a 2-match ban. For the 5 cards in this half, you get a 1-match. So Bentancur.
I thought it went up to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
if you haven't reached 5,
yeah, because you'd have gained 5 this half of the season, and 5 the second half would get you a 2-match ban, I think.
Well, yeah. If so it's once you get to the halfway point, you need 10. If you go past halfway and then you get 5. So say Maddison doesn't get another card now, and then it goes past. If he gets up to 5 after the 19, he won't get a ban. He won't get a ban until he goes.
No, because I thought there's an amnesty after 19 after half the games. They get 1.
that's what he's saying, Adrian.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, I misheard you then. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I couldn't agree with Jem more about picking up stupid yellow cards when you don't need to be tackling players when you're 5-0 up, and
Madison's was just pointless, in my opinion.
Especially in the busiest area of the pitch. I mean, Sar's on free, and actually, didn't he take his goal well today? Didn't he just? I mean, I like this player, right? I know the fans are split on him, but he had to sort of tiptoe his way to sort of score that goal, didn't he?
It's a good player.
Yeah, I don't know if you were listening. We were talking about Dibbling. I'd love to see us get Dibbling. I just think he's everything.
Not
just,
another
to
youngster.
me, Spurs player written all over him. But
if we're going to bring a youngster in here, I'd go for Patrick Dorgu, right, at Lecce. I mean, he's 20. He played in the internationals. He's Nigerian-Danish international. And he looks superb at left back. He looks superb. Dorgu, Dorgu. Go and have a look at this kid. I'd say he looks special. He looks special. But then again, this is if you're going for Dibbling, I'd go for Dorgu. I really would.
Anyway, we're down to 10 in the chat, and I'm not surprised at that, given the time. Predictions. Let's just quickly wrap up with predictions for Thursday. Jem and Tom, are you going?
No, I'm not.
I'm not going. No, I can't go this week, but I think it's going to be a really tough game. Too close to call. Let's go 2-0 Spurs and be optimistic.
And two clean sheets in a row. Okay, I believe you. Tom?
I think we stand a very good chance. I mean, United, although they beat City, they didn't actually play very well.
No.
There seems to be a lot going on there as well, with both Garnacho and Rashford being left out of the squad and stuff like that. So it very much with Spurs and United are pretty similar in the sense you don't know who's going to turn up and who's not. But I back us, and I think we'll progress. I mean, if I had to put a scoreline on it, I'll go 3-1.
Nice one. Mark?
Oh, yeah. Can we keep 2 clean sheets in a row? 2-1. 2-1 Spurs.
Adrian?
I'm with Jem 2-0.
And I'll go 2-1. So we're all gonna win this.
Yeah.
Guys, as I say, those of you that have hung on, been in the chat, Nita, thanks for coming back. And what have you. We will be back. Are we playing next Sunday? When are we playing next Sunday? Oh, Liverpool.
Yeah.
What
Sunday,
time's kick-off?
I can have a look quickly.
4:30.
Is the 4:30 fine? There's the live game on Sky. Boys and girls, we will be back here at 8 p.m. Next Sunday night.
And Tuesday. And Tuesday.
And Thursday.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, sorry. Well, no, this show will
Friday's
be.
right.
You'll be back on Tuesday, and you'll be back on Friday after the Man United game, Adrian. I
Yeah,
assume.
yeah, we'll be doing post-match and like
Yeah.
preview Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. I doubt I'll make Friday. I doubt it. But let's see what the week brings. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Jem. Thanks to Tom. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to Adrian. And Mark, do you want to play us out tonight?
I can do it.
See you in the back room, guys. See you in the back room.
I will do. Let me find it.
Got a Southampton get battered everywhere they go? We probably haven't. So
No.
We'll find a good one instead. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Don't